Okay, so how much longer can we put up with this blubbering idiot? It's a war. It's not a war. The war is over. The war will shortly be over. The Strait of Hormuz is open. The strait is closed. If we go back to November 16, 2011, when Trump was host of The Apprentice, he said the following.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
He repeated this a number of times. Here's one from Fox News from February 22nd, 2012, and then June 1st, 2012 on C-SPAN.
I think Obama will go to war with Iran because I think he views it as good politically, and that's pretty sad.
I predict there's a very good chance that we'll end up in a war with Iran because I think it's politically possibly a positive for Obama, even though it's not a good thing for our country.
Well, Trump was wrong about that. Instead, Obama's nuclear deal, also known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, was signed. So let's look at Obama's Iran nuclear deal. Now, the purpose of the deal was to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, and do so without military conflict. In exchange, they would lift economic sanctions on Iran. Now, this agreement was between Iran, the United States, United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, and Germany. Iran agreed to limit uranium enrichment. It would cap enrichment at 3.67%, far below weapons-grade uranium. And they would only enrich at one facility in Natanz. They also agreed to cut enriched uranium stockpiles to 300 kilograms, about a 98% reduction in stockpiles. They would also dismantle thousands of centrifuges, which were machines used to enrich uranium. There would be extensive monitoring by the International Atomic Agency, including regular inspections of nuclear facilities. And they would redesign reactors so they could not produce weapon-grade plutonium. In exchange for this, Iran would receive sanction reliefs from the US, the EU, and UN. They would lift any nuclear-related sanctions. Iran regained access to tens of billions of dollars held abroad. Now remember, this was their money to begin with. It wasn't money being given away. It was money that was released that had been on hold. They were also allowed back into the global oil markets and financial systems. Now, some of the restrictions were temporary, not permanent. For example, enrichment limits were set for 15 years. Some centrifuge restrictions were from 8 to 10 years. And some of the sanctions had a snapback mechanism that had a deadline of 2025. Now, the JCPOA agreement was not a permanent solution, but a containment strategy designed to buy time and reduce immediate nuclear risks. Now, Obama's approach accepted that Iran will have a nuclear program, but limit it tightly, and user inspections could verify this compliance, and it would avoid war through diplomacy. In 2018, when Trump became president, he withdrew the U.S. from the deal. The U.S. reimposed sanctions, and Iran gradually reduced compliance and increased enrichment. Recently, Trump said the following.
Terminated Barack Hussein Obama's Iran nuclear deal a disaster. Obama gave them $1.7 billion in cash, green cash, took it out of banks from Virginia, D.C., and Maryland, all the cash they had. Flew it by airplanes in an attempt to buy their respect and loyalty, but it didn't work. They laughed at our president and went on with their mission to have a nuclear bomb. His Iran deal would have led to a colossal arsenal of massive nuclear weapons for Iran.
Once again, Trump has a hard time distinguishing between facts versus fiction. Let's hear what Obama said back then.
The United States, together with our international partners, has achieved something that decades of animosity has not. A comprehensive long-term deal with Iran that will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. Because of this deal, the international community will be able to verify that the Islamic Republic of Iran will not develop a nuclear weapon. Because of this deal, Iran will not produce the highly enriched uranium and weapons-grade plutonium that form the raw materials necessary for a nuclear bomb. Iran will not use its advanced centrifuges to produce enriched uranium for the next decade. Finally, Iran is permanently prohibited from pursuing a nuclear weapon under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty.
Now, the so-called ingenious Donald Trump took a different approach, where Obama tried to avoid military conflict and relied on diplomacy and economic pressure. Trump took a different direction. He used direct military force against Iran. Ongoing tensions include naval confrontations, strikes on nuclear sites, threats of escalation. Now recall, under Obama's deal, Iran could enrich uranium at low levels only and keep nuclear infrastructure. And they had inspections. Trump's approach, zero enrichment, dismantling of facilities, and transfer of nuclear materials to us. But now things are changing a little bit. Recent negotiations may allow limited enrichment again. It's a bit ironic that Trump may wind up accepting terms similar to what he criticized. Obama lifted sanctions upfront in exchange for compliance. As much as Trump huffed and puffed about sanctions against Iran, in March, the Trump administration temporarily waived sanctions on approximately 140 million barrels of Iranian oil stored at sea for 30 days to ease soaring global energy prices. As much as Trump ridiculed Obama about releasing Iranian funds, recent reports indicate that U.S. and Iran are negotiating over a 3-page plan to end the war. One of the elements under the discussion is the U.S. would release $20 billion in frozen Iranian funds in return for Iran giving up a stockpile of enriched uranium. Trump is such an idiot. The number of times he contradicts himself just is perpetual.
Right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that.
The U.S. will be gone or done with the war in 2
I
or 3
think with
weeks?
2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many.
The countries of the world that do receive oil through the Hormuz Strait must take care of that passage.
We totally control the Strait, just so you understand, for all the fake news out there.
I had one goal. They will have no nuclear weapon. And that goal has been attained. They will not have nuclear weapons.
Nobody can be so stupid as to say that we want to have nuclear weapons and they have no cards. They have no cards whatsoever.
So if they do not give up that effort, is that the plan? Will you further destruct Iran?
Yeah, I will. If they don't give that plan up, yeah.
It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take.
They say if anybody protests, we're going to kill you in the streets. So I really think that's a big hurdle to climb for people that don't have weapons.
We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I said, we were in there for 2 months. And you know what? We're going to have victory very shortly.
This is the history of Trump, saying one thing one day and the total opposite the next. Trump kind of reminds me of Ralphie's dad in A Christmas Story with the leg lamp. If you recall, after the lamp is knocked over and broken, he attempts to glue it back together and it just keeps falling apart. He eventually buries it in the backyard. That is Trump's history, always breaking things and eventually burying them in the backyard. That goes back to his days in real estate with his father, to the casinos he bankrupted AC, to his various businesses selling products that failed, to his university, his charity, and everything else he has touched. He constantly breaks things, attempts to fix them, or pretend he fixed them, only to have all these things buried in the backyard. The only thing he's really interested in is having his name and his image plastered wherever he can, whether that be the Kennedy Center, the $100 bill, or now, our passports. And when things get tough, he always goes back to his ballroom. And what was once not going to cost the taxpayers any money, now the Republicans are chirping in, wanting to fund $400 million to provide for this ballroom of his. Trump, you'll always be an idiot.
Don't tell me about your loved one. Don't tell me, baby, that you love me. 'Cause I can't believe a word. Can't listen to you, baby. Honey, can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. I stopped loving you when you told me all about your girl. Stopped loving you, baby, oh, when you told me about your girl. Can't listen to you, baby. I can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Heard your story too many times. Can't listen to you, baby. Oh, can't listen no more. Can't listen to you, baby. Can't listen to you no more. Heard your story too many times. Can't listen no more. When you told me you love me, told me a lie, found out, baby, you didn't love me. Can't listen no more. Baby, I can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Can't listen no more. Found out you didn't love me. Found out you wasn't true. Told me a lie, baby. Can't listen no more. Can't listen to you, baby. Honey, I can't listen no more. Can't listen